today's meeting of the Joint Rules and Open Government Committee to order. Let's start with roll call, please.
Candelas.
Here.
Duan.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Kame. Here. Cohen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We're going to start by reviewing the agenda for next week, March 25th meeting. For whoever makes the motion later, there is an ad sheet. Let's start. The meeting is scheduled for 9:30 closed session, 1:30 regular session, and consent starts on page 6. Continues on page 7, 8, 9, and ends on page 10. In section 3, we have the status of open audit recommendations, the annual summary of labor negotiations, a public hearing on the status of the city's vacancies, the first responder fee program in section 4. In section 5, the report and recommendation for phase 2A of the San Jose Diridan to Airport Connector. Section 7, a report of the city charter regarding parks. And in section 8, peddler permit ordinance amendment, with 8.2 being deferred. So we'll go to public comment first.
No public comment?
All right, we have no public comment. There's been a request about a time certain for item 5.1. We can do that, or we can just try to order this agenda in a way that we think, it's hard to know, because I feel like items 3.5 and 4.1 could have a decent amount of comment and questions and take a little bit of time. So what is our thinking about 4.1 and what it'll...
4.1 is complex in some ways, but I don't believe we'll have a lot of public comment on it.
Not public, but I guess it'll probably take some time with the council to...
I think it'll take some time.
Yeah.
Not an extraordinary amount of time compared to last night, but it'll take a little bit of time.
Okay.
How do you know?
I mean, knock on wood,
All right.
sorry.
So when you say time certain, what are they looking for?
They just want to know a time certain, but I mean, 3 o'clock, they asked for 2 o'clock, which I said was out of the question, because we don't really start till 2 o'clock. So I said maybe 3 o'clock is doable.
Who's making the request?
Some of the advocates they said they have a number of people who want to come and give public comment on it and would like to have it at a time. So I usually.
No earlier than 3 o'clock, is that what?
No earlier. I think they prefer a time certain, but we don't have to accommodate. We usually try to accommodate when we get requests. So that's the reason. If it was 4, fine. Also, it doesn't have to be a certain time. They just want to know if there's a time, because they have people that are coming here for the meeting to make comment. But yeah. I don't have the specific time. I think is less important than
we can always just move it to the end of the agenda, and that happens whenever it happens. Yesterday we moved the budget not to be heard before 4, and we were lucky we didn't have a big break, but I'm hesitant to do that now because we don't know how long of a discussion we're going to have before that. So I'd rather just, if their concern is move it at the end, or say we're going to have it at, 3, that's fine with me. What I want to avoid is a big break.
Oh, no, I don't. I think time certain doesn't give us a break. We would just have to stop other items and then put them later.
Well, not stop. You
just wouldn't start an item.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
The other option is, based on a conversation I had with Lee, 3.5 you think will be the longest item on the agenda, right?
Yes, I think that'll take quite a bit of time. So you could always move that.
So maybe just moving 3.5 to the end, so that folks who come here for 5.1 don't have to wait through what could be a long item.
I think that's a good idea, especially since it's related to staffing, and our employees may want to show up for it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so I in that case,
go ahead.
I'll move approval of the agenda with the ad sheet, moving item 3.5 to be heard last.
All right, sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have motion and a second. I don't see any other hands, so let's move to a vote. All right, motion carries 5-0. All right, we don't have a meeting the following week. It's a holiday, so we will not be reviewing a second agenda. Our next item is our consent calendar for today's rules meeting. We have 5 items on consent. Is there any public comment on consent?
No public comment?
Okay, back to the committee. Is there a
Move
motion?
approval.
Second.
Second.
Done.
All right, we have two motions and 2 seconds. Let's vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is item C1, our a request to endorse or to support AB 554. Vice Mayor, do you want to just give us a little intro?
Yes, thank you. This is in regards to healthcare coverage presented by Gonzalez, AB 554, that is related to antiretroviral drugs for HIV/AIDS. There is concerns that the federal government may remove funding of these drugs, making them very expensive at the state level. So this legislation would allow those drugs to be obtained at a cheaper, less expensive cost than the federal government.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this one?
No public comment.
All right, we'll come back. Councilmember Candelas.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councilmember or Vice Mayor, for bringing this item up. Question for the administration: would an item like this fall within the purview of our legislative guiding principles, where we could take a position of support without necessarily having to agendize something formally for the council? That's the having the background of government administration and government advocacy. That's why we have a government affairs department to forego any possibility. And quite frankly, legislation moves quickly in Sacramento, and so I'm just curious to hear the administration's thoughts. Maybe we can even forego this position, to adopt the position of support, not forego that.
Yeah, so typically what happens, within the legislative guiding principles that you as a council approve, staff has a lot of leeway to take positions on various things. Obviously, you've asked us to focus, so we're right now fighting for a lot of funding, and doing defense is where we spend most of our time, I would say. My understanding with this piece of legislation, it probably does fit within the legislative guiding principles, but the author wanted to bring it to rules and have the city vote on it. But the IGR team is right now taking a support position to take on any actions. It's not supposed to be heard in committee till the end of April. So we're not missing out on any opportunities by bringing it to council either. So we'd either approve it here, or like when we bring forward the spring or fall IGR thing, as one of those recommendations, you're always accepting the verbal update, but then reconciling the positions that we've taken as an administration that you haven't seen. So this bill wouldn't be included in that because we've taken a support position through this means.
Got it.
Just as further explanation, IGR approached us about this legislation, asking us if I wanted to bring this forward along with, and we brought it forward with 2 council members, Mulcahy and Campos. So that indicates to me maybe they wanted the city council approval on it because they came to us. I don't know.
Yeah, my suspicion is that this, well,
I mean,
certainly
it's
it's
Yeah.
consistent with our values.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
necessarily in any, I mean, this is a little bit outside of city policy, so it's not
Yeah.
necessarily obvious, even though it's obvious that we
Yeah, that
should support it.
we're supportive of making sure that we're doing anything to protect
Yeah.
our residents, especially in light of the
Yeah.
federal administration's attacks on
Right.
our residents. But that's something I was curious about, because I get approached to support legislation fairly often, and my default answer is that's why we have a world-class government affairs team that's able to
Yeah.
take support positions without necessarily having to go to the council. So my not concern, but one of the questions I have is on precedence, and the fact that folks come to us all the time with taking support positions on legislation, and us not getting mired in having to come to council to deliberate and advocate for support positions that are pretty obvious.
I would say the difference between a member of the public asking us to advocate and our own staff asking us to advocate is that our staff works for us, and their job, they may need us to take a position on this to have a more compelling argument in Sacramento. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's my
I
suspicion.
mean, I
is
think
that-
it's gonna pass our council easily, frankly, but,
And we can put it on consent.
Yeah, yeah,
could
and
put
it's-
it on
and
consent.
Yeah, and, yeah,
and
correct.
it's only 2 weeks, and the committee meeting is at the end of April, is that what you said?
I believe it's not scheduled to be heard until April, so we don't
Okay.
run any.
I mean,
I mean, the reason we have this flexibility, Councilmember Candelas, is you're exactly right. We don't want to go through the 2-week process of going to rules in a council meeting because things can amend and change
Yeah, things
rapidly in
can get gutted and
Sacramento.
amended, and next week it's a different bill.
So for 99% of the situations, the plan works perfectly fine. I would say it is news to me that our staff asked council members to take a position on something. So that is something I will follow up with.
They know that LGBT issues are important to this council member, and probably that's why they reach out to me,
No,
I
and-
suspect.
No, and, but thank you,
And
Lee.
as they are to all of us.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, it's not necessarily, like organizations like VTA, different legislators
yeah.
come to us asking, would you support this bill that I'm introducing? And,
Yeah.
and, and not that I'm not supportive, but, that's why we have a IGA team
Sure.
whose job is to do this. And so, but no, I appreciate the item, and I think you already made a motion.
No, I
didn't
don't
you?
think so yet.
I didn't, and if we don't, I mean, I completely understand your discussion and don't disagree, and if we don't need us to take action, then that's fine. If we're needed to take action because IGR team wants us to make that public statement, that's something else. So I don't know that it's kind of no harm, no foul,
No,
you know?
I think the IGR team knows you're passionate about it and want you to be able just to represent it. And either way, we can put it on a consent calendar or
Yeah.
push it back.
Yeah, my theory is that this one, they probably are coming because this is on the edge of what's, of a definition of any one of the categories of council priority, and they want to make sure that this doesn't, that there's no question as to, did the council really support this or not?
Yeah.
Whereas in some items which are directly related to city revenue or which are obvious, they have to take, we've already given them direction to take positions on. But we do periodically have bills that are, and I think we have to evaluate them on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
Like, are they-
I'll move recommendation on the item.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second, an interesting discussion, and now we will vote. All right, motion carries 5-0. That brings us to our open forum. Do we have any speakers for open
No
forum?
public comment.
Okay, well, then we are adjourned at 2:12 PM.
Okay.